Good evening, everyone. My name is Senthil Kumar, PhD scholar at GNLU. On behalf of PhD Batch 2020 and the organizing committee, I extend a warm welcome to Dr. K. Parameswaran, Associate Professor of Law, GNLU, for Day 4 session on Research Integrity and Ethics as a part of PhD coursework Phase 3. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce the speaker of the session, Dr. K. Parameswaran, an Associate Professor of Law and former Dean of Academics at GNLU, holds a bachelor degree in Administration and Law, Masters in International and Constitutional Law, and PhD in International Law. He teaches since 2000 in various places like NLSU Bangalore, NLU Jodhpur, Madras University Chennai, Symbiosis Pune, and currently he works for GNLU. He was also Dean of Alumni and External Relation, Head of Bachelor's Curriculum Board, and now he's heading Master Department at GNLU. He pioneered a law subject, Law, Religion, Spirituality, and Justice, and Ethics Skills Development for Legal Research and Profession. He teaches and conducts capacity building on spirituality, higher value, and ethics for law students, teachers, advocates, judicial officers, and professional corporates regularly. He represents Government of India in governing board of Auroville Foundation under Ministry of Human Resource Development and UNESCO, the World Commission on Environmental Law, and International Consortium of Law and Religion. He brings in spiritual and peace value in legal education and writes regularly on contemporary issues, keeping Sri Aurobindo integral conscious knowledge for individual and collective development. He is a very well-known public speaker, student counselor, webinar presenter, trainer, and policy drafter. He obtained certificate on Psychotherapy USA Heritage and Vedic Studies. He is an associated with law schools in USA for higher research. His vision and mission is to make people understand higher purpose of law and justice through spiritual and self-awareness and universal consciousness for individual and social goals through legal education. He also lived in Sri Aurobindo Ashram Pondicherry, which is recognized as a scientific research institution under Ministry of Science and Technology and Indian Medical Association, and practice integral spiritual and conducts weekly spiritual classes in Gujarat. Pioneering legal work where he brings integration of law, religion, spiritual, and justice for Auroville, is well recognized by Government of India, especially MHRD and other international organizations outside the country. He has been inducted recently as a co-member of prestigious international body in USA that works for integrating spirituality, law, and politics. He is steering various committees of GNLU and other reputed organizations. He is truly an institution and nation builder. Extremely happy and privileged to have you here today, sir. Looking forward to listen to you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Senthil Kumar and Madam Danya. Is my audio clear?
Loud and clear, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for a generous introduction. At the outset, I thank the Gujarat National Law University, our Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. S. Shantakumar, and the head of the PhD department, Professor Dr. S. Shobalata Udapudi, and the entire PhD team, and the organizing committee of the PhD Phase 3 coursework. I thank you all immensely for giving me this wonderful opportunity. So far, you must have, are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So far, yeah, thank you. So far, you all must have studied various research methodologies, research design, all kinds of things related to stages of research, the phase-wise approach of research, how to do, what to do in research. All these things you must have studied for the last 4 days, and you will be studying for a few more days. But today's presentation, which is about research integrity and research ethics, is about the core human personality that does the research. You have seen what type of research one can do, what are the various methods that are there, various types, kinds, forms, stages, phases, the development of the entire research as a methodology. All these deal with what and how. Whereas what I am going to discuss for another 1.5 hours is about who is the researcher doing this. I want all of you to shift completely towards the self of the researcher. So far, you are focused on the types and methods of research. Now you have to focus on yourself. Because the research integrity and research ethics is not outside, it is inside. If you do not understand that as a researcher, you have to play a very serious role. It is from within that you have to get outside, move outside, and start doing the research. Unless and until you center yourself again back to your core personality of who you are and why you are doing this research, not about what research you are doing or how you are doing, but about why you are doing this. And what are you going to give to the society based on this research? When we say who is the researcher, when we say what benefit you are going to give to the society as a whole, there comes certain human dimensions, certain psychological dimensions come in the human understanding, the human personality, and so on. As a result of which, the issue of integrity and issue of ethics become very serious. Unless and until you are very clear about the aim and the outcome, the vision and the mission, and your role in that, you will not be clear of what you are doing and why you are doing. So, what we are going to discuss is something psychological, because that's exactly where the true research starts. That's exactly where the true ethics starts. Ethics is not outside, it is inside. Integrity is not outside, it is inside. And it is something invisible, something immeasurable. It is something intangible. So if you do not find out your own attitude, your own aptitude and the skills from where they are originating to make you do the research, if you are not very clear about that, then you will be doing so many things by which or in which or through which or from which a kind of a misconduct in research ethics and research integrity might come. We have to be very careful of that. So, if you see, research is all about research ethics and research integrity. It is actually not two separate things. Probably if you have seen research ethics and research integrity in different formats, you may get to see these two are discussed as two different things, but it is not two different things. They are actually only one. Ethics is all about the values that you have, and integrity is the outcome of that particular value. So, if your research behavior, if it is viewed from the ethical and the moral principles, certain things, certain values which you have to do or you should not do, for whatever value it is, whatever worth it is about ethics. But how it is getting translated into an actual outcome, a physical outcome, a material research output, that is called integrity, because that is exactly where it is measured. So when research behavior is viewed from the perspective of professional standards, that is called research integrity. You need to be very clear. So research ethics is something inner, and what is inner when it comes out through the methodology, through the skills, through the approach, through the publication of your thesis or writing of an article or teaching, whatever it be, the scope of it, that is called the integrity part of it. Because people will not know what kind of value that you have inside. But if it is shown outside in any kind of a research or an output, there your integrity will be at stake. This is the difference that you should keep in mind. Now, I would like to explain things in this way. Any research that you do, any research, it consists of input and output, and the input and output, the meeting point, the converging point is what is called the process, which we study in research methodology. So take, for example, you are a PhD scholar in Gujarat National University. You are doing a research. So you are going to do something new. Your research is something new. So where do you get the inputs for the research? The first source is normally from the already existing research database or research document. You have something in mind, you have some question in your mind. But when you want to explore what it is all about, you go to the library or you meet a supervisor, you discuss with your senior or with your colleague, and you gather some information. That's the first source that we do. That's the first input that we take in from outside for whatever question that we have in our mind. Second is not only that, when we restudy it based on observations, whether it is really like this or not. Suppose, for example, if there is a research that you want to do, as to say whether Article 14 under Part 3 of the Indian Constitution is effective or not, he will study a few books, he will study a few research reports, he will consult few people. But your research doesn't stop there. Your input doesn't stop there. You just get into certain new observations which you yourself do. Those are also one of the sources. Then after taking the sources, you process those sources, which is called the research methodology. That middle part, what I call the process, the RM, I leave it to you. You all must have studied in the last 4 days. I saw so many links on what is research methodology, research design, types, quantitative research, qualitative, statistical research, so many methods which are there, which you all will be looking into. That is the process. Through process, you make an output out of it. You come out to a conclusion in which your thesis is over, or publication is over, or writing is over. You may be teaching that, you may be developing a policy out of it, you may be developing a social context out of it. So 3 social outcomes come from 2 major sources. So the input which you take from outside you for the thinking that you have had, for the process that is there inside your mind, and you churn it through a research methodological operation steps and stages, and the output that comes, the output is largely 3 in kind, 3 social outcomes, which is you have to complete your PhD. That may also be part and parcel of your publication, and that may also be part and parcel of your teaching, your policy making, your social contribution. And that is the output. If you see, This entire research cycle is interdependent to each other. That's why I have put arrow marks on both the sides. It's a two-way process. They say in the Western philosophy, what is called the dialectical materialism, the thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Again, that becomes thesis. Again, that contributes to antithesis, synthesis. So it keeps on moving. So what you take as input and you churn it through a process and produce it as an output, somebody will be picking it up as an input from outside and they will be doing it. So you have to be very careful when you are taking the input and then processing it and then churning it through a research methodology operation and producing an output out of it. Mind well that you are creating a repository of knowledge in the society, in the library, and everywhere in the academic and legal and social community, where some people like a new researcher like you will be observing and taking the data. So your data must be a qualitative data. So the person who is doing it must be the one who must be thinking what kind of input I am taking, what kind of process that I am churning, what kind of output that I am producing. Very important. I will slowly increase the degree of the inner dimensions of it, you will get to know. So this is the research cycle that you need to keep in mind, that the input that you are taking and the process that you are making and the output that is being delivered becomes an input for somebody else. As much as you expect the input that you are taking to be authoritative and qualitative, so also each and everyone expects from the research production that you have made, from the research output that you have made, to be qualitative and authoritative. You can't compromise on this. Clear? This is the research cycle. Now, what do we mean by the term research integrity and research ethics? There are so many documents on what is research ethics, what is research integrity, endless. You just Google, you get so many things out of it. It is endless, literally endless. I just Googled to see, I got literally lost. Everyone is telling this is integrity, that is ethics, this is unethical behavior, that is lack of integrity. So many things I could see. But most of them, they are not having any kind of an interconnection. Everybody is giving list after list. But I would like to give you, and I leave it to you to find some kind of sense and reason and logic in this, that these four things are the major parameters for research integrity and research ethics. And if you see very carefully these four values, they are actually interconnected to each other. So research integrity or research ethics that you should keep in your mind when you are doing PhD work in Gujarat National University, these four things should constantly monitor you. What are those? One is originality. You should do original research. We will discuss one by one what it is. Second is, what is original must be having some kind of an utility. I'm not using the word utilitarian. That takes you to a different debate. I'm not getting into that. What I'm trying to say here is there must be some kind of a utility to what you're doing. Because the moment you use the word Bentham's utilitarian, it becomes largest happiness, maximum good, and so on. The numerical quantity comes into the picture. So I'm not getting into that. It can be utility to you also, not a problem. It can be utility to one person also, not a problem. You are not away from the society, you are part of the society. So you can also help yourself. But we normally see that one helps not only himself or herself, one also helps the nearby, the society, family, and so on. That is a larger perspective. But utility should be there. Third is the originality which brings utility should be accountable. There must be some accountability to it. When we use the word accountability, all the legal jargons come into picture. You can just put in bracket after accountability, laws relating to IPR, matter-ends, copyright, patent, in the whole arena of the intellectual property rights. Then comes the methodology. You just see here I have put methodology as the fourth category. Because normally people actually reverse this. They think that methodology can be first and then originality goes in the end, which is very unfortunate. You must think of a thing which is original. If you are going to churn a research which is already being done, if you are going to produce an analysis of what is already existing in the database, already existing in the information world, already existing in the knowledge spectrum of the humanity, what is that you are doing original? You are only just compiling. That is also part and parcel of integrity and ethics. It may be useful, your compilation may be useful, no doubt. But research means is not compilation. Compilation is just one angle of research, one thing that supports the research. So originality should be there, and that must lead to some kind of a utility, and it must be accountable. If you keep these three things, originality, utility, and accountability, your problem of methodology gets easily solved. Because every methodology, each and every stage of research methodology must have the component of originality, utility, and accountability. Otherwise, there is no use. So people make a lot of methodological observations, so many complicated structures I see. But what is the outcome of it? What is the significance? What is the profundity that you have brought to the legal knowledge, to the research that you have done? You are not an ordinary bachelor students or a master students. You are a PhD scholar. A PhD scholar means someone who has reached the heights of knowledge, accredited as certificate through a certificate by a university. You are an authority on that knowledge. So when you claim an authority on knowledge, you must obviously be claiming authority of knowledge only on the subject which you know, which you have produced, which is original to you. You cannot claim authority of knowledge on somebody else's knowledge. It's logically not correct, right? So originality brings authority, originality brings credibility, originality brings integrity. Now do you understand? Originality is so important. And what is original? It must be having some kind of a utility. What do we mean by utility is just not only the individual and the collective. It must have some kind of a world form, some kind of a practical form, some kind of a usable form, some kind of a dynamic, action-oriented knowledge. Otherwise, we are not going to watch a sci-fi movie in which they dabble with all kinds of scientific logistics with computer-generated graphics, which we cannot understand. We are only surprised to see whether it is possible or not. Maybe we can watch it for an hour, but it is not useful for your PhD. It is not useful for the society. It's not even useful for you. How will you teach? So originality and utility brings the third element called accountability, because you cannot do a thing by taking somebody's knowledge or passing off somebody's footnote as yours. So accountability means what you have done, the credibility that you are claiming for the research integrity and ethics, the integrity that you are claiming for making a utility out of your research, it must be accountable because you have done it. You are not taking somebody's knowledge, you are not taking somebody's research output. You are accountable for that. As much as somebody is accountable for his or her research, so also you are accountable for your own research. So accountability is the most important thing in which the integrity looms large. Originality and utility may be largely ethical in context. Somebody may say it is original, somebody may say it is not original, somebody may say it is utility, it has a utility, it doesn't have a utility. But when it comes to accountability, there is no two opinions, it's only one opinion. If law doesn't permit you to pass off somebody's knowledge, some copyrighted work, some patented works, you will be punished for that. Accountability is fixed. Accountability is not a debatable issue. So keep this in mind. Then comes the methodology. So methodology is nothing but originality, utility, and accountability. At every stage of the research that you are doing, starting from the problem statement and the research question, the research objective that you are putting, the hypothesis if you are keeping the research design, the research methodology, and the comparative analysis that you do, in each and every stage of it, in each and every chapter of it, in each and every page of it, the methodology interspersed with originality, utility, accountability, and so on. So this brings the whole view of what is the research integrity and research ethics. And these four are interconnected values is what you need to keep in mind. So when you do a research, when you have taken a particular topic for your research, find out whether you are going to do something original or not. Give an attempt to it. I know it is not that easy, but you should give an attempt. Only when you give an attempt to it, at least some kind of an utility can come. Only when you attempt and some kind of utility can come, there alone you can rightly claim the accountability of it. There alone you can justify the methodology which you have done. Because it is something having an accountability that is established and proved by law, which is your own, something having some kind of an utility for X, Y, Z, or something that has the original approach of its own. That justifies the methodology of it. So research integrity and research ethics involves the four major interconnected values, which are originality, utility, accountability, and methodology. Clear? Now I will increase the heat to the next stage. You just see here. Originality, I have put in bracket psychological, because integrity and ethics is psychological. I will come slowly to it. Utility is social. Accountability is legal. Methodology is the academic standard which you all are studying in any research methodology. Clear? So, originality is psychological, utility is social, accountability is legal, and methodology is nothing but academic standard. Now you go to the next stage of it. Is the screen clear? Anyone can say yes to me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now you just see the same research integrity and ethics, the four major interconnected values. I have shown it and explained it very clearly. We have seen that there is a psychological element to it, which is originality. What is the connection between originality and your psychology? What is the connection between social relevance and utility? Relevance between accountability and legal adherence to IPRs, methodology and academic standards. Your originality means the term origin, means you. If you are the originator of a research, if you are the person who is going to create something new, something innovative, something creative, it is you who are going to create. For example, if you take the name, say, Mr. Sandil Kumar today introduced me. If Sandil Kumar is going to do something of original research, it actually comes down to who is Sandil Kumar and what is Mr. Sandil Kumar. You got it? So when I say who is this Mr. X, Mr. Y, and what is he or what is she, it is not about he is aged 25 or 26. It is not that he is from Kashmir or Kerala. It is not about how much he is earning or where he is working. It is about he. It is about she. It is about the psychology of it. So when will you know and understand the originality is very closely connected with the psychology of the person? Only when you know who you are. Only when you know who am I, why I do this research. Many times the research problem where research scholars get stuck with, I keep pushing them. You just find out why are you doing this research. It actually brings them to a very dizzy situation. Why am I doing this question? Why are you asking me? They used to say. No, I want to know why you are doing this research. No, sir, I am actually interested. Suddenly they shift to the psychological question. No, I am very much interested in doing this research. If they don't understand that question, I deliberately used to ask, no, don't do this research in this way, you do it in this way. There they will say, no, sir, I am not interested in that. I am actually interested in this. Which means they know who they are, they know what they want, they know why they are doing research, but they are not conscious of who they are, what they are, and why they are doing. That is why, in order to understand who you are, what you are, and how you are, the psychological aspect of it, from which, by which originality can come, you should first concentrate on yourself. Why have you taken to this PhD research work? Why you want to do this research? Just sit quietly and think about yourself. Why did you take this? Why did you take to research? Why did you take to PhD in GNLU? What is your interest? What do you want to do in this? There must be something in you, right? That is all about who you are. That is all about what am I? Who am I? Because that question can clearly give a focus to you, and giving a clear focus to you will also make you focus on what you want to do. Unless you are focused in yourself, you will not be focused in what you are doing. If you are little lost, if you are little stressed, do you think you will be able to do research? You are not able to do research. Why? Because you are stressed, you are disturbed, you are upset. Many times I see people, they feel, sir, I'm not interested in doing any research. Why? The mind has gone chaotic, mind has gone extraordinarily outside. They throw themselves outside completely. For research, what is required is a focus. That's why you are keeping research objectives. That is why you are keeping research questions, so that it will constantly put you to an inner position, constantly put you to a psychological state of mind in which you need to find out an answer. The research questions, the research objective, the problem statement, the research methodology, all these are only to make you converge deep within, so that you will be able to concentrate. Right? But that we have put it in the methodological form, as a result of which we think that we will handle it that way. When it comes to writing, we will do the writing of that. No, it doesn't come like that. You have to find out for yourself on a daily basis, on a regular basis, why you are doing this research and why are you interested in doing this research. Who are you to do this research? Why am I in this academics? Ultimately, it comes to that. If you are very clear about that, then it becomes very easy for you to focus. Why I do this research? Who am I? What is the academic purpose of my research in this life, in this world? These are bigger questions we should keep in mind towards the whole universe. You and the whole world, you and the whole universe, the whole humanity. Then it becomes easy for you. That takes you to the next level. You just see, all these four are interrelated. The moment you think who you are in the society, and when you are in the society as an interdependent being, all that you will be doing will be automatically interconnected to the next level, which is the outcome of research, which is nothing but the social relevance, the sense of purpose, and the utility. That's exactly where utility comes into picture. If I know who I am, if I know who you are, if I get to know what I am going to do, why I am doing this, then slowly it brings a connection with me and outside, because I'm talking about myself and I'm not independent all alone in this society. I am within the society. The moment you start thinking about yourself, you start thinking about interrelating between you and others. It happens sometimes with our friendships, right? If a friend hurts you, you start questioning, what is this? Why am I hurt? It is in relation to somebody making a statement about you. So the moment you concentrate on yourself, on your own inner self, on your own inner personality, you start actually thinking about your relation with society, your relation with outside, your relation with collective. That's exactly where the social relevance comes into picture. That's exactly where the sense of purpose or utility comes into picture. Recently, I submitted one article to a particular journal. They asked me, what is the unique selling price that you have for this? That was the question that was put to me. I was a little surprised. Maybe for a book, normally people ask, why do you ask me for an article? Because they want to know whether I am able to connect my knowledge with the society or not. What is the selling price of this article? Will it be sold? Because they were a bit worried whether what I'm talking about, spirituality, this, that, all, which is my core area of research, ethics in law, judicial profession, and so on. They thought that I will be talking something very abstract, and they wanted to know whether I have some kind of a real connection, reality check with the society or not. They asked me, what is your USP? Then I started explaining to them. Thereby, they dragged me from my individual position to a social position, from an individual self to the social self. The once you move from the individual position to the social position, there the research methodology starts. There you start taking the data, the initial, the inputs, collection of data. Why are you all asked to look into literature review? It is precisely to see that you are not going to repeat the same research which is already done. In the earlier tradition, it was like a bibliography, primary resource, secondary resource, tertiary resource, and so on. Now the modern methodology is literature review. You just tell me what is the literature review that is there on the area of research which you want to do. What is that new you are going to do? That's exactly where we may goof up. If you are not conscious of who we are, if you are not conscious of what our role in the society is, there you may do four things. You may falsify, you may fabricate, you may misrepresent, you may even plagiarize. All the legal accountability comes into picture. The adherence to IPRs is exactly that. So if you see the first two, the upper portion of it, if it is blocked, and if you are supposed to do research, if you are asked to do research, you will take any data and every data and pass it on as it was. Because you think that others will not find out. Others are watching you. Others are watching your relation with the society. It is better you find your own relation with the society. That is where the first psychological quality and the second social quality comes into picture. So if I know who I am and if I know who I am in relation to the society, I will be very careful of who is watching my work, who is reading my article, who is supervising my research work, how they are going to monitor me. So I will be very careful that I should not falsify any kind of a document. I should not misrepresent anything. I should not fabricate anything. I should not plagiarize anything. I should not read somebody's document, understand, and get inspiration out of it and then return it in my own way. These are all misrepresentations. Very risky, it is very dangerous. And now it has become much more difficult, especially when knowledge has become information highway. Everything is data based, either words or numerals or pictures. These are the three codings which are being done. Words, that is the syntax, the pictures, which is in pictorial form, and the numbers, which are also seen as pictures. Everything is getting mapped. So you need to be very clear that when you are doing a research, you should actually complete all the four and then come back to your research work, to your supervisor, to know how do I bring this rigor in this research? How do I respect others' work? How do I remain impartial? How do I be transparent? How do I be independent? What is objectivity in my research? What is subjectivity in my research? What are the standards? How do I keep it? Currently, UGC says that this much of percentage is enough for the threshold of plagiarism. They have fixed some kind of a percentage. We are not getting into that. Ideally, we should do a thing in which it should be zero. That should be our attempt. And it is very easy. It is not that difficult. I will show you how it can be done. I'm also going to explain how to escape this unethical behavior, how to escape from this lack of integrity. It is very easy. It is not that difficult. What is difficult is that you should be interested and you should develop that interest. If you are not developing that interest, it is certainly difficult. But once you have an interest to do and then you know how to do that, it is very easy. So you can see what we saw as originality, utility, accountability, and methodology is exactly our own inner psychological self, the originality, our social self, which is utility, and our accountability, that is the legal self, and finally the methodology, the research methodology, which is our academic self. There are four selves that we have. A scholar, a research scholar has four selves: psychological self, social self, legal self, and academic self. And you have to follow all these four. If you miss anywhere, that's why I have put it very carefully, that these four are major interconnected values. They are not independent. They are interconnected. You have to study them together and you have to apply them together. You have to, even if you miss one value in any of these four, you will obviously be failing. You will obviously be getting into a trap of some kind of a misconduct in research integrity and research ethics, for sure. Clear? Now, go to the next slide. Now, you see here, I have shown also what are the places or what are the situations, where are the areas where we commit misconduct in research integrity and research ethics. Where is that lack of integrity? Where is that lack of ethics coming into picture? You just see on the extreme left side, four interconnected values which are there. And I have put same psychological, that is the originality of it. 2, the social relevance of it. 3, the legal. And 4th, the methodology. What are the causes for such kind of a misconduct when you are not conscious of it? Lack of self-regulation. Research is basically a self-regulating behavior. That's why we conduct these kind of training programs, so that we remain you. But you have such a role, important role. If you pass off somebody's knowledge without giving adequate footnote, or giving credibility and authority to others who have created that knowledge, not only you will be in trouble, I will also be in trouble as a guide, and the university also will be in trouble. And the research product that you have produced in the society, that will also be in trouble. That will also be in question. And you create a chaotic situation. So, the whole idea of a research, good research behavior is nothing but a self-regulation. You are allowed to do research for 3 years, 5 years, and so on. You are only making the reports of it once in 6 months. So it is you who are supposed to show it to me, how you have done. And I will get to know whether you are self-regulating your behavior or not, whether I need to use the carrot and stick approach, or whether I need to push you to a certain limit and make you do things. Yeah. So self-regulation is most important. Lack of self-regulation can lead to loss of values. Most of the times, people who have committed errors in professional misconduct or professional ethics or integrity, it's nothing but, they call it a slip. In psychotherapy and psychology, they say it's a slip. Error of judgment, they say. Or in psychology, they say it's a slip that took place. But it's nothing but self-regulation which you are lacking. Lack of self-regulation. Now you may ask me, so how do we develop it? Nothing but self-quotient. You have to develop a self-quotient of yourself, who you are. Again, the same thing which I have explained to you, which we have seen here. Why I do this research? Who am I? My academic purpose in life and world. That's the self-quotient. Like how you have intellectual quotient, like how you have emotional quotient, like how you have social quotient, and how you have research quotient. This is self-quotient. You are not knowing who you are and what you are and why you are doing this. Don't do this mistake. Which is nothing but the skills that you require if you want to come out of that lack of self-regulation is nothing but a skill of self-awareness. You need to be self-aware. You just see the unethical conduct or the lack of integrity that will come out of it. When I am stressed, my research creativity is lost. Obviously, only in a free and peaceful mind, creativity can come. Only in a mind which is at calm. When will you become? Only when you know who you are and what you are and your relation with the world. I'm sitting here, I'm giving a lecture, I'm seeing the surrounding, and I am myself. When I am conscious of myself, when I am conscious of the surroundings, when I am conscious of looking at the desktop and giving the lecture, then only I can be able to talk. If I get dispersed, if I get stressed, if I don't know, if I cannot know who am I, why I am here, what is the purpose, what is the interrelation that I have with you all, I'll be stressed. Obviously, I will lose the creativity. Only in a free mind, only in a calm mind, only in a self-regulating mind, only when someone is self-aware, self-conscious, creativity can come. It's logical. Self-aware means you are aware of yourself and your relation with others. your relation with things and your relation with purpose, your relation with aim, and your relation with outcome. So you are conscious, you are aware of doing all this. Who is the doer doing all these things? At a social level, it is the sense of purpose, the second interconnected values. Why that sense of purpose? How can that misconduct come if you don't know what is the social purpose? Lack of interconnectedness, individual and collective. I'm only concerned about I, me, myself. There are some people who are like that. They are the people who commit mistakes because they think they feel that they are the only one who is existing in the society. They don't think anybody else is watching them. Even if they watch them, they don't care. I, me, myself is enough for them. Which means they lack interconnectedness, which means they lack emotional quotient. They have to develop emotional quotient, which means they don't have collective awareness. Most of the wrong conduct, most of the misconduct, most of the unethical behavior comes from lack of collective awareness. How can you do a thing which is going to injure somebody? How can you do a thing which is nothing but a stealing of somebody's article, somebody's object? It's lack of collective awareness. As much as you exist, so also somebody else exists. And there is an interrelationship between you and him and her. We all have to coexist. It's a collective awareness. If you don't have that, your social utility will be lost. In psychology, they study it as greed. In the sociological language, socio-psychological language is nothing but social utility which is lost. Clear? At the third stage, at the third level, the interconnected values, the legal violations of IPR. I don't understand the consequence of what I am doing and passing of somebody's knowledge, which means I'm not understanding the consequence of my own action, which means every thought has a conduct, every thought has an action. There is an interrelationship between thought and action. There is an interrelationship between animus and actus. In Indian Penal Code, you study as mens res and actus res. In thought, you study as animus and actus. In psychology, you say that it is thought and action. Your thought and action have an interrelation. Your animus and actus have an interrelation. Your mens res and actus res, they have an interrelationship. If you don't have this foreseeability, if you don't foresee what is the consequence that you are going to arrive at by doing this, then you obviously commit an error, which is an error in law. So I pass up somebody's knowledge. I don't know what will be the consequence of it. Or I know, but I don't care about it. Which is actually losing of one's own self, losing of one's own social relevance, and losing before a legal system. So they lack social quotient. They don't care about society. Socially abnormal behavior they are. Which means they don't have mutual awareness. Mind well, as much as you steal somebody's knowledge, there will be someone else who will also be stealing your knowledge. You cannot do anything then. If everybody start doing this, where is research integrity? Where is research ethics? And when will you do that? When I am ignorant. Accountability is lost. You all know in law there is a maxim, ignorantia juris non execut. Ignorance of law is of no excuse. So when you do research, be very clear from where you are taking the knowledge, from whom you are taking the knowledge, give equal citation and authority and credibility to the source of the document. You cannot avoid doing that. Clear? Then comes the methodology, which is the academic standards. That is basically lack of supervision. When I say lack of supervision, doesn't mean that it is supervisor's role. Supervision means you have to do supervision of your own work. Many times people say supervision means what? Only the supervisor has to tell me whether I am doing correct or not. Yeah, we will be able to tell. But if you are copying and if you are trying to fudge the documents, and if I get to know about it, that's it. The matter ends. The work doesn't proceed anymore. So there, the research quotient needs to be developed. There, what is called the system awareness that needs to be developed. That's exactly where you become very negligent. It's negligence, basically. You just see all these four values, interconnected values, and the 5 columns and the 4 rows which I have shown, all these are interconnected with each and everything. If you want to enhance research integrity and if you want to enhance research ethics, these are the challenges and strategies, and these are the skills that you need to develop. And these are the red alerts, the points which you have to keep in mind. Don't be stressed, your creativity will be lost. Don't be greedy, your social utility will be lost. Don't be ignorant, you will have problem with accountability before legal system. And don't be negligent, you will be producing a substandard research. You got what I'm saying? This is the whole game. Even if you miss any one of this, you'll have a problem. You will have a very serious question on your research capability and the research output that you are doing. If you think the research that you are going to do, if you think as a research scholar in Gujarat National University, this is what you need to bring, you have to consider this. I will be giving the slides to all of you. When you are doing research, make a tick mark. These are checklists which I keep for myself, for my own writing. Whenever I write, whenever I give a talk anywhere, I keep these things very carefully, so that the kind of knowledge that I am giving, I am also responsible and I am also accountable. And I can also claim the credibility for it. I can also claim the authority for it. Where I cannot claim, I give equal weightage to each and every one. That's exactly where the collective community develops. That's exactly where the research academic fraternity, they grow and they produce something which is very substantial, which is useful for everyone. Not only for the academic community, but for the world, the development, the nation, the humanity, in the whole. You got it? So this is what you need to keep in mind. Now, so far I have only discussed the major things about research ethics and research integrity. Now I am going to connect this research integrity and research ethics, how it can happen in legal research, and where are the areas where you will miss. Since all of you are doing research in connection with law and legal knowledge and legal system and legal discipline and justice and so on, so you need to know how to have research integrity and ethics in legal research. Separately, I have made a document for you. Let's see this. I call it as 4-stage method. Practical steps to avoid misconduct in legal research. I normally very easily catch students doing any kind of a dissertation work or research by just seeing this link. I can easily find out. You just see the first stage. You normally identify the problem, what is called the problem statement. Then you study them, you interlink them through research design, through research method. Then you experiment them, that is the integrate, you do investigation and so on. Then you publish and share, you harmonize what I call is the creation of new knowledge and so on. This is the first stage which is apparent on any research document. But this is not that easy. On the face value of it, it is not like this. You need to go deeper into it. I would like to share, if you want to avoid any kind of a potential misconduct in legal research, if you want to avoid any kind of a potential misconduct in ethics or integrity in relation to legal research, you use this as a formula. And giving it to you, you can use it, you can add something to it, you can, whatever that is useful for you. This is what I do, so I have to explain. There is no point just explaining, do research with ethics, do research with integrity. This is what ethics is all about. This is what integrity is all about. But I need to explain what is and how it needs to be done. That is very crucial for me. So when we identify constitutional provisions at the second stage of it, there is every possibility that your whole research gets into the umbrella of Indian Constitution. Every research that you will be doing, it has some kind of a constitutional element. You have preamble, you have part 3, you have DPSP, you have fundamental duties, you have Article 32, 226, 136, 142, 368, which is amendment, the list 1, 2, 3. All these are there. If you pick up data from any of these things, if you do research in which you connect your research with regard to the constitution of these provisions, the major provisions which I have shown, your research gets augmented by the strength which is there already in the Indian constitutional law. There is no question of research integrity or research ethics because you are following what the constitution wants you to do it. You got it? I'm not saying this is an escape route. I'm not saying you are covering behind the pillar of constitution. But ultimately, you also have to do research based on what the constitution has expected all of us to do. Every research must be tested constitutionally, like how we test a legislation, how we test an executive action under the constitution, ultra vires of the constitution, which the judiciary does. So also every legal research, thinking that that particular legal research may go to a legislative policy making a help for it, thinking that it may help in the executive governance, thinking that it may help the judiciary in the judicial interpretation. So it is better you do the testing yourself so that it is foolproof. You got it? So when you do any research, if you are finding the connection with the preamble, if you are finding the connection with Part 3 fundamental rights, directive principles of state policy, fundamental duties, Article 32, the writs, the remedies, 226, 136 specially petition, and also you have 142, which is right to complete justice, and the amendment, the socio-legal transformation article, which is under 368, and you have union list, state list, concurrent list, and numerous entries which are there. You can certainly find out some kind of a connection with all these entries in the list 1, 2, and 3. As a result of which you can enhance, you can avoid committing any kind of an error. Instead of copying from XYZ source, you can directly take it from the constitution. I'm not saying you are copying from the constitution. You can directly, thereby you enhance your research, which is legal research, and you also enhance the integrity and the ethical quality of the research because you are serving the constitution. Ultimately, constitution needs to be served. Then similarly, when you study it, connect your acts, statutes, bills, judgments with research question or research hypothesis, which you will do. The missing point is where the unethical behavior comes. The missing point where the integrity comes. If you are not able to connect your act, statute, bills, judgments, which are there outside the research which you are doing, based on the research hypothesis and the research question which you are doing, if you are not harmonizing, if you are not finding where it is merging, where it is not merging, people will say, oh, you have done a research which is not connecting with any of the bills, any of the statutes, any of the judgments. Your research question and research hypothesis, which is separated, this is separate from these two angles, as a result of which you have done a very substandard research, which is also a question of integrity, which is also a question of ethics. Then come to the third level, the experiment level. Unless and until your research studies the issues that are getting affected, the people who are getting affected, the sector who are getting affected, the social significance which is coming to that research. Your research is not sound, right? Like how we have seen, just see the same thing. Originality, utility, accountability, methodology is exactly what I have put here. Study the affected issues, people, sector, various sectors which are the social significance of it. You have separate reasonings and separate logics for that. You all know the inductive reasoning, deductive reasoning, abductive reasoning. You all must have studied in research methodology. If you use all those things, it's very easy. So research methodology or the research integrity or the research ethics is nothing but not to give any missing gaps, not to leave any scope for absence of any ideas. You fill it up with everything, so that it becomes substantial. As a result of this, when you identify the Indian Constitution provisions, when you connect with the statutes, bills, judgments, when you connect with the study which is about the study affected issues, people, and sector, you can suggest new policy, you can suggest new interpretation, you can suggest new implementation, executive, legislative, and judicial. It becomes full. In the part 1 and part 2, you are directly connected with the constitution and the national legal system. Your research becomes so strong. Keep this in mind. Your research helps in the national building, helps in the national development. It helps in the constitution. If you quote constitution, if you quote all kinds of provisions from the constitution, and if you are going to refer it to the people who are getting affected by it, and if you are going to suggest new policy interpretation and implementation, legislature, executive, judiciary, tell me what is the nature of your research. It is not substandard, it is something substantial, which means it has the integrity. We always think integrity and ethics from the negative point of view, but you should think from the positive point of view also. Integrity and ethics is nothing but serving the constitution, serving the nation, serving the society, serving my own research, and giving credibility to it, giving authenticity to it, giving mutual respect to each and everyone who has done research like me. Here, this is the second stage. Third stage, if you are interested, I'm just giving you a suggestion. If your research is going to get involved some kind of an international element, then you need to bring. For example, when you are doing a research in environment, if you are not going to refer to sustainable development goals, obviously your research is substandard. Obviously, there is a question of what kind of originality you have brought, what kind of utility you are talking about, what kind of methodology it is. You are not even referring to sustainable development goals, SDGs. Obvious, right? So when your research has some kind of an element in relation to international dimension, kindly include the international conventions, international elements, UN treaties, declarations. I leave it to you. I'm only trying to increase the substance of your research, as a result of which you can show that this research is with integrity and ethics. The second stage of it, in the third degree, is that comparative linkages, if you can make. If you can identify two countries in relation to your country, in relation to your research work, and you find some kind of a cross-sectional study, and you can map, there is a possibility. You can access both the sources and take the relevant materials out of it and connect with your research outcome. If a particular methodology has been already tested in a foreign jurisdiction or any other country, and if it is successful, you can emulate the same thing here, because you already have one kind of an example and illustration outside. Clear? And it increases the utility again. See, again, all the four principles will come: originality, utility, accountability, and methodology. And the fourth stage, which is a very advanced stage in research, if you are really considering that your research should be of a very high quality, in which the integrity and ethics is at the height, you can talk about interdisciplinary, cross-disciplinary, multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary. But for that, you should have studied what is transdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, cross-disciplinary, interdisciplinary. Without knowing the merits and demerits of it, don't venture. But it is not that difficult. You can study about that. There are very good articles on transdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, cross-disciplinary, interdisciplinary. All that you can do. Of course, you should be knowing the difference between interdisciplinary, cross, multi, and trans, and so on. So you can identify which is suitable to your research question. Many times I see in the research question, people bring invariably interdisciplinary because people are interested. But the methodology always falls short of, because interdisciplinary is not an easy thing. You require two dimensions of knowledge from two different disciplines. It's not that easy. What normally we do, saying it is interdisciplinary, but in the end we start doing only cross-disciplinary. Cross-disciplinary means I sit in the legal domain, I take benefits from psychology. I sit in the legal domain, I take benefits from religion. I sit in the legal discipline, I take benefits from economics. I take benefits from science. I take benefits from commerce. I take benefits from technology. And then apply it. For that, I don't need knowledge of science, technology, commerce, economics, history, psychology, religion, and so on. I only take the benefits which is already there in that particular domain and just apply it. That's what cross-disciplinary, which by mistake people are saying it is interdisciplinary. Interdisciplinary means having two different dimensions of knowledge. I know law, as well as I know, say, psychology. I know law as well as I know physics. I know law as well as I know history. I know law as well as I know literature. Knowing means not by qualification, not by experience, but by any means. In India, such interdisciplinary degree is not there. Only an integrated degree is there, like how you study legal education. It's an integrated degree. So keep in mind that interdisciplinary is a very careful term that you need to keep in mind. So normally we end up doing cross-disciplinary. Multidisciplinary is still a high call, a huge task to be done. Transdisciplinary is totally a different thing which UNESCO brought, because that is one of the ways to solve the problems. I'm not getting into that, I don't have much time. So when you take the research to a fourth level, and then these disciplinary approaches which you are doing, identifying what is suitable to your research question, and then the most important point is the testing. How will you do the testing? And in interdisciplinary, cross-disciplinary, multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary, the testing at the doctrinal and empirical level is huge task. It's not that easy. So you have to be very clear. And similarly, to bring it to a level of an outcome at the last stage, you can either do it on a pilot base or you can scale it up, whatever that you want to do. But for that, you have to be very clear of the first three stages, all the 15 steps. If you are clear and if you want to go to the next fourth stage of it, you can certainly think about that. So I'm just opening up all the ideas. You can write to me later if you want any clarification or whatever that you are wanting to know. Okay. Now, what should a research scholar do? Normally, what happens is that the experience which is there, which is being recorded as a knowledge, that is what is called information. Currently, the information in research methodology is studied in the literature review, and it comes through the information technology, the ICT, where the data form is there, be it numerals, be it words, be it pictures, which is there in the information communication technology, ICT, and artificial intelligence, which is mapping. Google is one of the best examples of the AI. When you ask for something, it picks up from everywhere and it tells you, is this what you wanted? And then the third stage, it must lead you to the creative innovation. It must lead you to the creative assimilation. Normally, what happens is the first part of it, the experience and the knowledge part of it, and the second part of it, which is AI data and the ICT through internet, the web-based resources which we are finding. We stop our research with that. What is the outcome of it? There has to be some kind of a creative innovation, or at least some kind of a creative assimilation. Other than creative innovation, other than creative assimilation, anything that you are going to do will only end up doing either falsifying the facts or fabricating the knowledge or misrepresenting or plagiarizing. If there is knowledge everywhere which you want to study and analyze, you have to analyze it in such a way that is creative, which is not there before. You are the first one to do that. An analysis which is creative other than all the existing. Creative means something new from the existing. Either you have to produce something totally new, or you have to take everything from the existing data and then you have to analyze it. And then that analysis becomes part of the existing data, in which somebody can again jump into it and they can again do the research work, and either they will produce something new or they can bring yet another new analysis. The third stage is what makes the research integrity, the research output, the research ethics strong. If you do not have creativity either in your innovative approach or in the assimilation of it, it is nothing but plagiarism, it's nothing but falsification, fabrication, misrepresentation. Keep this in mind. This is one more way of, I have made a different chart so that you understand in different ways. There is another confusion that is there, that people say, I am doing doctoral research, I am doing empirical research, I am doing action research. All three are actually one and the same. What is there? Knowledge as a conceptual form, when it gets into a dynamic social form, it becomes empirical. And what is empirical? In the dynamic, practical, functional form, when it gets into action, it becomes the active form. So knowledge is one and the same. Knowledge means it has a conceptual limb, it has a functional limb, and it has an active limb, which is active. It's a three-way connection. You cannot say, I will only deal with the doctrinal alone, I will only deal with empirical alone, I will only deal with action alone. That is not correct in my understanding. It is logical also, right? How can you do something conceptual without having any kind of a utility, right? Without having any originality to it, without having any accountability to it, without having any kind of methodology to it? Or if you want to do something on the empirical without understanding what you are doing, the concepts behind it, how will you do that? Or you do empirical as well as doctrine, but you are not applying it in the society and testing it. What is the use of it? That's why the four qualities, the originality, the utility, the accountability, and finally the methodology. If you follow fully, you will obviously be following the doctrinality, the empiricality, and the action research. Here. Now you all know there was a great educationist who was living in America, Boyer. He gives a fourfold model for scholarship, which I consider is one of the best ways to enhance research integrity and research ethics. What is that? He says, I'll show you this slide first. You just see this. He says, either your scholarship is based on discovery, or your scholarship is based on new application, or you are doing some kind of a scholarship in which you know how to deliver that knowledge, that is through teaching, or you are developing a knowledge in which integration is made. You integrate all kinds of knowledge into it. So your research integrity and ethics in relation to research is nothing but either you discover, or you find an application out of it, or you find a teaching out of it, or you find an integration out of it. This is what is called Boyer's fourfold model. He wrote a popular book called Scholarship Revisited, The Qualities of a Professoriate. A very interesting book I have given in the WhatsApp, I have given in the PPT at the end of it, the link of that book. Kindly download that book and you read. It's hardly 180 pages. It's worth reading. In fact, all the Ivy Leagues, they follow this method that either teachers or scholars are interested in discovery, are interested in application of it, are interested in teaching of it, or in the integration of it. If you do all the four, you are super. You are a star. You just rock. But it's not possible to do all the four. Boyer expects saying that a professor must at least cling to at least one or two of this. Not all the four. Of course, all the four is a very ideal condition, which is very difficult. But you can give an attempt, at least make that effort so that you at least come to one or two of it. That's what we all are working on. So he's saying that the ideal model is the application, teaching, integration, and discovery. If all these things are there, it is an ideal model. But he also tells the reality is like this. Integration and application, teaching and discovery, sometimes it goes seesaw. Sometimes the integration and application is too much without even allowing it to dissemination of knowledge, without even sharing it, without even involving any kind of a discovery. When you do not share knowledge, how does it go to others? How does people discover it? It doesn't happen, right? Or when you keep on doing only the teaching and the discovery, when you do not do any kind of a new application or integration, there also the problem comes. So he says the ideal situation should be to bring all the four, not necessarily from one same person, one single individual. It can be a group of people. They can do that. But we need to see that in our PhD research, in our article, or in our teaching, in our whatever that we are doing, that we bring all these four elements. Clear? If you see, all these four elements is nothing but what I have already put: originality, utility, accountability, methodology. You just see application, utility, teaching, originality, discovery, originality, teaching, and integration is accountability, and all four put together is methodology. You got it? So this is the point. So he makes it yet another diagram. So the discovery, the integration, the application, and the teaching. How we can do this? I will give the slide to you. You all go through this slide very carefully, very slowly. You will slowly start thinking, okay, I have to do research like this. This is the way that I need to do. Okay. Now, this is exactly what he says, the domains. He also explains what he means by teaching. He also explains what he means by discovery. He also explains what he means by application and integration. If we do these things, if our research is based on these kind of things, then it becomes very easy for us to do a research work, a PhD research work in law, in which the integrity and ethics of our research endeavor will be very high. If you see this particular screen which I am showing is what I request each and everyone to pay attention to, not only now, maybe later when you go back home. You identify each and every issue which you are going to do in your research, connect it with this, take the same PPT, make blanks here. You start filling it. First stage, identify problem set, you put it there. What is the interlink that you are going to do? What is the integration that you are going to do? And what is the harmonization, the creation of new knowledge, the creation of discovery of new knowledge which you are going to do? And second stage, identify the respective provisions of the Constitution. These are the various provisions which I connected with all the bills, statutes, judgments, connected with research question hypothesis. I have even given interpretations that come from natural school, positive, real, critical school, then what. Study the areas where it will be affected or where it will be affected, and suggest measures for legislative, executive, judiciary, and so on. And third stage, if you are interested, I wish you fulfill it. If you do that, all these, if you follow it, automatically your integrity, your ethics will be very high. Now, how much time is left, Danya madam?
So we have 10 minutes more.
Okay, 10 minutes. Okay. So, is there any question that I need to take? Any question session I need to give, or shall I go ahead?
Yeah, yes, sir. If you can take questions, would be great.
Participants, if you have any questions, kindly you can ask me now. Anyone?
Do we have any questions? Please unmute and answer.
I think there are no questions. You can also speak directly instead of typing if you want.
Sir,
Yes, who is speaking?
sir, this is Kirtan here.
Yes, please tell me.
Sir, you just showed us the three stages, like the three types: the action, the doctrinal, and the empirical. So, as we'll be coming towards finalizing our topics, so this is one of the, like you said, each of the things involve the other things. Like all the things are interdependent, but still,
Yeah.
when we come before the research committee, we have to state, right? Like, is it possible to state that only we are doing empirical, or like is it mixed, or
But
should,
how
if we are not in,
Okay, I got the
if,
question. But I just,
yes,
that's exactly what I expect. How is it possible that you can do only one angle of the research? How it is possible, you tell me. You tell me what is the
yes,
area of research that you want to do?
sir, the preliminary topic which I have given is with reference to application of drone laws in India. So I'm
Okay.
looking at the interface of drone laws and regulation with reference to privacy and data protection in India.
Okay, is it doctrinal or empirical according to you?
Presently, when I went ahead, the GNLU committee, they said that certain amount of empirical data is required, but mostly I feel, sir, presently after all the lectures I've attended, it is going to be doctrinal. But yes, at certain point of time, I will pull certain data from DGCA regarding
Okay.
the violation
Now
being conducted.
there is a slight confusion that is there about what is empirical and what is doctrinal. What you need to keep in mind is that empirical doesn't mean that you have to necessarily go out into the field work. You can
Yes, sir.
also collect data which is available on the external sources. Whether you are
Yes, sir.
creating that source or with already data is existing, if it is available with the Directorate of Civil Aviation, or if it is the respective ministry which already has that kind of a data and information, you can take it. That is also
Yes,
part
sir. In my case,
and parcel of
yes.
empiricism only. Don't
Yes, sir. In
confuse
my case, I will be
empiricism.
pulling the data. In
Don't
case I'll be
confuse
putting the data points.
don't confuse empiricism with survey.
Okay,
Survey
sir.
is just one angle of it. Survey is one method of empiricism. If somebody has done the survey already for you, if government has already done the survey and they have put up the report of that, you can take it. Not that you have to necessarily go out on the road and do it. If you want to do it, you can do it. But what I'm trying to say here is the empiricism or doctrinalism is dependent on what is that you want to do and what is that you want to present and what is the outcome that you want to impress upon. That depends upon it.
Yes.
For example, in my research, which I want to do, for example, the role of religion and spirituality in legal profession. So if I find out these are the problems of the legal profession, which I feel that it can be solved through role of religion and spirituality, I have to necessarily consider the problems that are there in legal profession. What are the problems which are there? Either I have to go to the respective bar council or go to some other organization which has collected such kind of information regarding problems and challenges of the legal profession. If there is no data, then I have to do that. I cannot avoid doing that. Then there is no value of utility of my own research. There is no credibility that it can be applied. You should also show that the knowledge that you are giving, it is capable of implementation. You cannot avoid legislature, executive, and judicial, the three wings of the three organs of the government. If you want to suggest some means of it, say for example, this is the law that which you want to suggest to the parliament or to the respective ministry, they will certainly ask, is it implementable? Ideas are not just for ideas' sake. Not that people are interested in reading about ideas. People want to know how it can be applied. Law is about application, right? Law is about finding the interrelationship between two people or two or more elements. What is law? Ultimately, law is all about regulation of order in the society, in which a mass complex of external variables are there, which are heterogeneous in kind, which are not homogeneous, and which are actually interacting with each and every one. And if law is something that which it wants to regulate this, then if you are suggesting some kind of a law, you need to actually show how it can be regulated, how it can be used for regulation.
Yes.
You cannot avoid that.
Yes.
The problem with empiricism is precisely because we feel we may waste time in going and collecting data. We may go outside and do these kind of things. Understandable, because we are all pressed in time. We all have our own work and job or teaching or any other work wherever we are doing. It is very difficult for us to go outside. And obviously, the survey that we do on the universe and the sample which we create, they are always disproportional. Statistics is always approximation. Statistics is not 100%. How can you take a survey of, say, Gandhinagar has, say, suppose for example, 50 lakh people. If you want to find out whether this is relevant for people who are living in Gandhinagar or not, either you have to consult all the 50 lakh people, or you have to, normally you consult a sample out of it, which you scale it up to that. That is still an approximation. It is not completely true.
Yes, sir. That's the dilemma.
That is the dilemma which empirical research always has. Not a problem. No problem. If you don't want to do it, don't do that. But you should be able to show that it has some kind of a validity. You don't confuse with utility with validity. Validity is always there for your research, but validity should get also translated in utility. Ultimately, validity of it is in the utility of it, right? If I'm saying some kind of a knowledge which is valuable for it, you will know whether this knowledge is relevant for you or not, depending upon whether it will help you or not. That is utility.
Understood, sir. Understood.
Yes, that's the point.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other question? Some link is there. What is that? It is the feedback of this. I request each and every each and every participant, research scholars here, to fill up the feedback very seriously, so that I get to know what I have done is relevant to you or not. I need to know all these things, because I am entering into a domain of research methodology in which I am bringing the psychological dimensions of it. So, which is also very crucial for legal research and the legal outcome of it. So, since I am interested in that, your feedback will be of very great help for me. So I request everyone to fill up that. Okay. So, Dhanya, madam, anything else is there?
Yes, ma'am. Shablata ma'am. Okay, so we have one of our scholar ready with the summary of session and vote of thanks to you.
Oh, okay.
So may I request Smriti ma'am to please, I'm just, may I request you to please read the
Yes,
summary
yes,
and vote of thanks to sir.
yes, ma'am. Am I audible, Danya ma'am?
Yes, you're audible.
You're audible. Go ahead.
Good evening to one and all present here. First of all, thank you so much, sir, for such an enlightening session. Now to go about the summary of the session. So today's session was upon research integrity and ethics. Sir beautifully introduced the concept of integrity, highlighting its importance that is within the society. Now we as researchers said that we would contribute to the society through our research, and we should adhere to some norms, namely the ethics of research. And the concept of self attitude and aptitude was also beautifully inherent, and its inherent part of self regulation is also pertinent during the research. Sir emphasized the research cycle, which was a wonderful insight on the point, which was introduced by Shobhlata ma'am in the previous session. So highlighted that we should actually consider the past, leaving the scope for future while we are researching at present. So that is a cycle what the research scholar talks about in the research. Now, the concept of research integrity and the four major interconnected values, namely the originality, utility, accountability, and methodology, were explained with great detail. I must say, sir, that your PPT was quite colorful and illustrative. We were actually very engrossed in seeing all the depictions you made. I hope we all scholars agree to that. And thank you so much for that effort, sir. Further, the challenges and strategies of the research integrity and ethics was discussed in quite detail. The psychological aspects which we find that it is not really present in the legal domain as such. And with my topic also, I would be looking on to the psychological aspects as to where they lie. So these all concepts were also explained. Finally, great tips were shared with us by sir to avoid the misconduct in the legal research, and it was beautifully divided again into 4 stages, and the summary of each was discussed. To recapitulate, the importance of the research integrity and ethics was explained beautifully by Dr. K. Parameswaran, with the Boyer's 4 types of scholarship to enhance our research and contribute to the policy formulation. On behalf of all the batch of the entire batch of GNLU PhD 2020, I, Smriti Tanwani, extend a heartfelt gratitude to Dr. K. Parameswaran for enlightening us on the topic. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for all the knowledge that you shared with us. I further extend my sincere gratitude to the PhD team of GNLU, especially Shobhlata ma'am, for designing such a meticulous coursework for us, and Dhanya ma'am and Gopal sir, who are always there with us, informing us about each and every aspect of our coursework. Thank you to all present here. Thank you so much.